In this particular case, we're talking about Carmelo Anthony, not the basketball player, but the young man, the young athlete, the young man who was charged, I believe, with murder in Texas after an incident occurred where there was a stabbing. Another young student, being Caucasian, was stabbed, died. And he was charged. I think they had like $1 million bail initially. There was outrage in regards to the amount of bail that was being charged. Eventually, it looks like that had changed or was reduced to around 250. He's currently at home under house arrest with his family. But since the incident occurred, there's been a lot of what sounds like outrage. For me, I'll be honest, until 3 days ago, or maybe 2 days ago, was not really aware of the story. I did see people talking about it from afar, but I wasn't sure of the details. So pardon my ignorance in that way. But what are you guys' thoughts? I'm sure you guys have heard it. It may have been recent developments, and I think that's been part of the issue. So what are your thoughts in regards to this Carmelo Anthony story and the tragic incidents that happened in Texas?
I don't know all the
Oh,
recent
y'all are ready to rock
developments.
and roll today.
I was going to pause because I don't know all the recent developments. Like, you said that. I was going to grab from my phone real quick. Like, what did I miss? The general lay of the conversation for me is, of course, well, is it different? Would it be different if it was a white person? Of course it would be, because people automatically assume that black people are more aggressive, that we're the aggressors, we're the predators, we're whatever. They made movies about it or whatever. So, but I think if you look at these gentlemen, they were big. Look at this man, he was kind of thin. People's accounts said they broke his property and that they threatened him or whatever, told him he's going to get it or whatever. It was 2-on-1. How is it not self-defense? I don't even know why he's being charged. So as we follow this, I think there's one side of America that tends to shade a certain way that is looking for some sort of lynching, right? And I'm not saying it's all of them, but I think there's definitely a representative portion. And then there's another side that is saying, where was his outrage when Trayvon Martin was just walking through a neighborhood? He was minding his own business, right? Like, make it make sense. But I think we have to accept that the system just doesn't do us fair. And if we don't speak up, it never will. And maybe we should just police our own neighborhoods. So I digress. I got my soapbox. Sorry, y'all. Soapbox. Same thing. So my bad. So I think the biggest troubling part of this story is that there was a cycle of bullying. It wasn't the first time. Right? Somebody could have stepped in. Nobody's asked where the teachers are. They blame this young man. Nobody said, where were the people all the time this fighting was going on? Nobody's pointing out that it's still 2-on-1. Whatever he had to grab, be it a brick, be it a truck, be it a chair, it was 2-on-1. He had to, how was he not defending himself? The fact that we're still talking about it says that there's something wrong with our system.
Okay, hold on, Jay. I got to ask this because we were talking about new information.
Yeah.
So you're speaking to a fight. Can you be more specific in regards to the fight you're speaking to?
All right. So he had an interaction with the guys before, right?
Okay.
This fateful meeting was not their first interaction. He had an interaction with the guys before somewhere else, like purportedly at a party, but that was separate. And at the party, the guy, the black dude, had got handled at the party. Okay. And they told him he was going to get some more. That was my understanding. And so when he showed up at this track meet, right, they came to where he was minding his own business, and they started messing again, told him he had to leave. The man was there to run the track meet. That's what I'm saying. And so the fight sets in motion that he could have been in fear for his life. Even if he wasn't, they destroyed his property, and they were both attacking him at one time. So it's still the same thing.
Just to be clear, when you said there's two of them, you were talking about the fight that occurred prior, not the day of the incident. I just want to make sure because...
No, the account that I heard was that, but the account that I listened to on my public radio was that, I think it was public radio, yeah, because it's all listed in the car. Anyway, so the account that I heard was there were both brothers were there. They both were in a struggle. He took out the knife and stabbed one, and then the other one, he noticed his brother was stabbed, and he was like, of course, he stopped fighting and started trying to tend to his brother, and dude kind of left. They were both involved in the scuffle. Only one of them got stabbed. So once one was stabbed, they stopped fighting.
Okay. I just want us to be very...
Three guys. That's how I heard. Yeah. Allegedly.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. I just want us to be a little careful in regards to the information that we are spreading in regards to the particulars here, because I think we all can agree, regardless of what side of this you fall on, that misinformation is a bad thing.
Mhm.
Can we agree with that to a certain
Yes.
extent, right? Because
Mhm.
it can, especially in this case, I think that's where legitimately there's some concern, right? So I just want us to try to avoid
Fair enough.
adding as much misinformation as possible. So that's the only thing I'm kind of being very careful about. But go ahead, whoever has more details, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, I did not know of what Jay said, and let me set the floor a little bit because I feel like maybe having not had as much information. So when I initially went to go read the article to get information in real time, there was like 3 or 4 different articles that I read. And in terms of anything about there being an altercation from before, I think there was a mention of that, but there was no police called at that time. And so I did hear about that, but there was no details about the particulars. Uh, it was a knife that was involved, which led people to question why would he have a knife. So there was conversations in regards to that. So there's just been a lot of information. So when I landed was that he was in the tent. He was told to leave. He was not necessarily supposed to be there. And then when he was told to leave, the guy who tried to, get him to leave, he told him, "Hey man, if you put your hands on me, it's going to be an issue." Yada yada yada. Right. So a lot of, I guess, the pro-white or the this nigga did this shit, let's lynch him movement, I guess, painted a narrative if we're going to say it that way. But I don't know. Um, and then from there, there's been more information. So the first place I'd ask is, where are y'all getting this other information from? Because I am not able to find it. So let's start there with anything that's outside the narrative. Where are you guys getting this information from? I did hear the mother speak today, for example. I don't believe the father spoke. I think the lawyer did speak, but the mother spoke in regards to, hey, what they're going through, but she made it clear she was not going to mention anything as it relates to the particulars of this case, yada, yada, yada. So I don't know who's been talking, who hasn't been talking, who stopped talking. So can y'all please edify us of where you guys are getting some of this additional information?
Yeah, I'm go ahead, Jay.
You want the confirmation of the altercation or whatever, or what are you asking for? The fight before, or how it went down? What
You were giving details that happened in the tent, were you not, sir?
I was saying in the tent it was said that he threw the phone.
Okay, so
Yeah,
what source do you have
I
that
was
cites what
watching
happened in the tent?
my Fire Stick News, and
Okay,
I don't subscribe
gotcha.
to tabloids.
I'm only asking because you're
Yeah,
picking up your phone like you're going to search and check.
yeah.
So if you
I'll
want
pick
to
it up
put
now.
that into the phone, that hey,
I
where's there
am.
some details? That'd be a good place to start, right? So, and I'm sorry, y'all. I'm going to be
Tia
this way.
jumping at the bit
You
to
good?
tell where her sources are.
Huh?
Tia's jumping to tell her
Oh yeah,
sources.
please. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, all mine are news media sources from the Metroplex, basically. So you tune in, and every day it's something new because they're also tracking the outrage and the support and the racism that's coming from it. Because if you look in the comments, there's such a huge division between blacks and whites about where they stand. For me, it's not necessarily what led up to it. For me, it's the fact that he was demonized before we knew really what happened. And I think for Black Americans, we're so used to being the bad guy that we came out and defended even before knowing if he was the bad guy or not, right? It recently came out through a news outlet that it wasn't actually a knife, which means it's a question of premeditation, and it was actually a cleat cleaner, which people who run track or play field would know that, the grass gets stuck in the cleats and they clean it out with it. And so if this child was in a previous assault, then his phone was thrown, then he was assaulted and being physically removed from an area where the coaches came out and said everyone could sit because it started raining, then it looks like it was probably self-defense. And that came from news media resources directly from the DFW and their news sources.
Which came from the news with the fact that it was a track cleat and not a knife?
Yes, the fact that it was a track
Which
cleat and
part?
not a knife came out when he was released, when his bail was dropped from 1 million to, I believe, 250,000, which shows that there's a significant issue, or something has happened with the evidence, with the charge. Something is going on. They don't drop $1 million bail for murder if there wasn't a change in disposition of some sort. So the young man was released, and then the information came out that it was a cleat cleaner as opposed to it being an actual knife that he concealed.
So did they confirm details of what occurred that day beyond what was in police reports?
They actually said that people are coming
Tia?
out and giving further reports. So now the children around are speaking about the fight that took place a week before at a party where he was beat up really badly. People are coming out talking about when the kids approached him, telling him to move. The coach was the one who validated the fact that he had been told to sit there because they were trying to find a reason why he didn't belong, why he was in the wrong place and committed this crime. So people are now saying, nope, I told him to go up there and sit there because it was raining. He did just get through practicing and scrimmaging. There were other kids here who weren't on the team. He wasn't out of place and he wasn't here to be a troublemaker.